Thank you for clicking on the video. This is going to be part 1, introduction, and Canto 1 of the Inferno by Dante Alighieri. So first we're going to go over all the men involved with this version of the Inferno. We have the introduction and the notes within the book are done by Pt.1, born in 1943, died in 2017. He was a distinguished professor emeritus of Italian comparative literature and film studies at Indiana University. He was a past president of the American Association of Italian Studies, and he wrote many publications on those topics. The translation is done by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, born in 1807, died in 1802. He was an American poet, and his wife tragically died due to burns after a fire engulfed her from a candle while they were using the hot wax to seal their children's hair. I guess that's a thing they did back then. Pretty clear why they stopped doing that, I'd say. And then, of course, our main character and poet, Dante Alighieri, mononymously known as Dante. So mononymously is just known by one name. Born in 1265 in Florence. He died in 1321 in Ravenna, Italy. Italian poet, writer, and philosopher, author of the Divine Comedy, originally known as Commedia, that's just comedy. Later given by his friend Giovanni Boccaccio posthumously, so after Dante's death, the pre-title Divina Commedia, so Divine Comedy it was then known as. And then the last person we're going to discuss here before we get into the book is, of course, Virgil, our side character, our main side character in the story. Born in 70 BC in Gaul, which is Upper Italy, Cisalpine region. He died in 19 BC in Brindisi, Italy. His full name in life, Publius Virgilius Maro. He was a Roman poet from the Augustan period, most famous for writing the Aeneid, based on Homer's The Odyssey and Iliad, following a new character, Aeneas, and Trojan refugees in their way back to Italy. So a little note I've put together is that the Inferno is somewhat of Dante's fan fiction with Virgil through imaginary world, where the Aeneid is somewhat Virgil's fan fiction with Homeric literature. So yeah, that's a very interesting connection I found. Alright, so we're not going to go through all the pretext. There's a lot. There's only one paragraph I find important before we read. So we will start here. What explains our contemporary fascination with Dante is his attitude towards his characters. As members of a liberal, diverse, and tolerant culture typical of the 21st century, democracies at least in our ideals, we tend to see everything and everyone from a variety of positive perspectives. We are asked to respect those with whom we disagree. The French maxim says it all. To compadre c'est to pardoner. To understand all is to forgive all. Dante stands entirely outside such a civilized, politically correct perspective. For him, understanding does not imply justification. Dante is the most judgmental of all poets. He believes that civilization involves understanding, an act of the intellect, but for Dante, understanding leads inevitably to evaluation, judgment, and the assumption of a moral position based on very simple but immutable ethical and religious precepts. No situational ethics, no I'm okay, you're okay, no automatic and naive acceptance of every point of view, no matter how ill-founded. His energy derives from moral indignation about the corruption of the church, about the corruption of Florence, and most Italian or European cities, about the weakness of the Holy Roman Empire, and about the general wretched state of humanity. But his genius is based on something even more precious and more unusual, his love for truth and his ability to express it in a timeless poetic form. One last thing before we get into the Canto 1 is the other epic poem writers through history, even Virgil, Homer, it's debated. There's a lot of wishy-washiness about who actually did what and when, how true it is, how historical it is. Whereas Dante lived close enough to us, we can all be certain he is the singular author of the Divine Comedy. He is also the hero of his own epic poem, something that was not portrayed in past epic poems. The author would be writing about a mythical hero, a religious hero. But in Dante's Divine Comedy, he is the hero of said epic poem. So yeah, just a moment, we'll be in Canto 1. Alright, if you skip the introduction, we're just about to start Canto 1, and if you watch the introduction, I thank you. I will include the images in editing. We're going to have Canto 1 image. These were probably done as woodblock cuts. I'm not sure if they were drawings, paintings, or woodcuts. But it's going to depict Dante astray in the dusky wood. So that is our topic of Canto 1. And I will also include an image here of the map of hell. Okay, the Inferno, Part 1, the Divine Comedy, Dante Alighieri, Canto 1. I'll try not to flub any words. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say. What was this forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear? So bitter is it, death is little more, but of the good to treat which there I found, speak will I of the other things I saw there. I cannot well repeat how there I entered, so full was I of slumber at that moment in which I had abandoned the true way. But after I had reached a mountain's foot, at the very point where the valley terminated, which had with consternation pierced my heart, upward I looked, and I beheld its shoulders, vested already with that planet's rays which leadeth others right by every road. Then was the fear a little quieted, that in my heart's lake had endured throughout the night, which I had passed so piteously. And even as he, who with distressful breath forth issued from the sea upon the shore, turns to the water perilous and gazes, so did my soul, that still was feeling onward, turn itself back to re-behold the past, which never yet a living person left. After my weary body I had rested, the way resumed I on the desert slope, so that the firm foot ever was the lower, and lo, almost where the ascent began, a panther light and swift exceedingly, which with a spotted skin was covered o'er, and never moved she from before my face, nay, rather did impede so much my way, that many times I to return had turned. The time was the beginning of the morning, and up the sun was mounting with those stars, that with him were, what time the love divine, at first in motion set those beauteous things, so were to me occasion of good hope, the variegated skin of that wild beast, the hour of time, and the delicious season, but not so much that did not give me fear, a lion's aspect which appeared to me. He seemed as if against me he were coming, with head uplifted, with ravenous hunger, so that it seemed the air was afraid of him, and a she-wolf, that with all hungerings seemed to be laden in her meagerness, and many folk had cause to live forlorn. She brought upon me so much heaviness, with the affright that from her aspect came, that I, the hope relinquished of the height, and as he who willingly acquires, and the time comes that causes him to lose, who weeps in all his thought, and is despondent. Even such made me that beast without in peace, which coming on against me by degrees, thrust me back thither, where the sun is silent. While I was rushing downward to the lowland, before mine eyes did one present himself, who seemed from long continued silence hoarse. When I beheld him in the desert vast, have pity on me, unto him I cried. Whichever thou art, or shade, or real man, he answered me, not man, man once I was, and both my parents were of Lombardy, and Mantuans, by country both of them. Sub Julio was I born, though it was late, and lived at Rome under the good Augustus, during the time of false and lying gods. A poet was I, and I sang that just son of Anchises, who came forth from Troy after the Ilion. The superb was burned, but thou, why goest thou back to such annoyance? why climbest thou not the Mount Delectable, which is the source and cause of every joy? Now art thou that Virgilius, and that fountain which spreads abroad so wide a river of speech. I made response to him with bashful forehead, O, of the other poets' honor and light, avail me the long study and great love that have impelled me to explore thy volume. Thou art my master, my author thou art alone the only from whom I took the beautiful style that has done honor to me. Behold the beast for which I have turned back. Do thou protect me from her, famous sage, for she doth make my veins and pulses tremble. Thee it behooves to take another road, responded he, when he beheld me weeping. If from this savage place thou wouldst escape, because this beast, at which thou criest out, suffers not anyone to pass her way, but so doth harass him, that she destroys him, and has a nature so malign and ruthless, that never doth she glut her greedy will, and after food is hungrier than before. Many the animals with whom she weds, and more they shall be still, until the greyhound comes, who shall make her perish in her pain. He shall not feed on either earth or pelf, but upon wisdom and on love and virtue. Twixt Feltro and Feltro shall his nation be, of that low Italy shall he be the savior, on whose account the maid Camilla died. Eurilius, Turnus, Nisus of their wounds, though every city shall he hunt her down, until he shall have driven her back to hell, there from whence envy first did let her loose. Therefore I think and judge it for the best, thou follow me, and I will be thy guide, and lead thee hence through the eternal place, where thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shalt see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each one for the second death, and thou shalt see those who contented are within the fire, because they hope to come, whenever it may be, to the blessed people, to whom then, if thou wishest to ascend, a soul shall be, for that then I more worthy. With her at my departure I will leave thee, because the emperor who reigns above, in that I was rebellious to his laws, wills that through me none come into his city. He governs everywhere, and there he reigns. There is his city and his lofty throne. O happy he whom thereto he elects, and I to him, poet, I thee entreat, by that same God whom thou didst never known, so that I may escape this woe and worse, thou wouldst conduct me there, where thou hast said, that I may see the portal of St. Peter, and those thou makest so disconsolate, that he moved on, and I behind him followed. That's Canto 1. So, we've discussed here Dante meets Virgil. Dante and Virgil are about to begin their journey, as Virgil has been ordained, in a way, to be this guide, to help Dante along his path, being the disgraced poet who followed dead gods and such, but also Dante's favorite. Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll be back with Canto 2 in a couple of days.